Hey, what's up? It's almost the weekend, but not quite. Thought it was Friday just a few minutes ago. But I just wanted to drop by and talk to you real quick about common ways that you can miscommunicate. I was reading until today, the verse each day or entry that is in the book. It's a day by day. And today she was talking about, some people misunderstanding and miscommunicating and misinterpreting. So it led me to have a thought about the meaning of words. I always study the meaning of words because I could have a different definition than you about the meaning of a word. Let's take the word compassion, for example. What does compassion look like in the way that I would show compassion? In the way that I understand what that means, it could be very different from the way that you understand it. And, a lot of words can actually have multiple meanings. It's not just always what the Webster Dictionary says or whatever it says online is the meaning of that word. Or sometimes with the definition of a word, you have 2 or 3 meanings depending on how you use it in a sentence, right? So people have different meanings of words based on their experiences and based on their programming and such. So, make sure that you really understand where somebody's coming from and like what their understanding of a certain word or certain types of language are, so that you don't have miscommunications. And, when something does come up and you need clarification, then you get clarification. You ask for clarification. We just go on making assumptions all day that may or may not be true, but if we never ask for clarification, we'll never really understand where that person's coming from. So I make sure that you get clarity. And that's something that she mentioned in this this little clip that I had posted earlier today. I think I posted it here, maybe on my business page. But in a session with people, I oftentimes ask, what does that look like for you? Well, I love this person. Well, what does love look like for you? What does that entail? And it's completely different description with each person. So that is important information if I intend to communicate with this human being and understand who they are and where they're coming from exactly. I have to be very clear on that. If I'm not clear on that, then it leads to miscommunication, hurt feelings, feelings of anger, betrayal, etc. If you're not clear on what that person is trying to say and where they're coming from. Also, we have expectations set up in our mind for how an interaction will go, or how a person is going to behave or what they're going to react like. The person's like, yeah, I care about you. I'm understanding. I'm compassionate. And then a situation arises where you want that from them and a way that you want it, and it doesn't come out that way. So then you're disappointed, or you feel betrayed, you feel hurt, you feel abandoned, you feel rejected, all those things. If you're not clear in the beginning of a relationship, any type of relationship, friendship, romantic relationship, relationships with your family, whatever the case, then you're going to misconstrue that, and then you'll run into problems with the relationship in general, especially with communication. So it's super huge, and just try to look for clarity, and anything that you have a question about or you start to wonder and then make your own conclusion or assumption, stop right there and go get clarification from the person. But we don't do that. Why? Why do we want clarification? Well, a lot of the times we don't want it because we don't want the answer. We don't want to hear the truth. We want to keep inside our own bubble, in our own fantasy world of how we think this person should show up based on what we want them to show up like. So if we ask the question and we get the true answer, sometimes not what we want to hear, and then therefore we would have to make some change in our life, like leaving a relationship or altering what a relationship would look like. So a lot of the times we avoid doing that very often, and then complain about it and say that, we have these problems, but yet you don't want to hear the truth and ask the questions to get clarification. So, find out if what they're saying and what they're doing match. That's another important thing. If somebody's saying, yes, I want to talk to you. Yeah, I understand you. Yeah, I want a relationship, whatever the case is, but they're not they're not acting like that, then ask what's going on, and you'll get answers. Well, this is how I show up. This is the way I do this or that. So, you have to get clarification on what is going on, because we all are programmed very differently. We all have different experiences. Some of them could have the exact same experience with two separate and very different reactions in the way that we have processed those two experiences, and then therefore we show up differently in the same circumstance. So ask questions to your partners, to your friends, to people that you're relating to, even business. Be very clear on who you're communicating with. And to find out who you're communicating with, you have to be courageous enough and open enough inside of yourself to be willing to hear the answers you may not want to hear. And when you ask those questions to those people, you can get more truth. And that's what we want, is to understand exactly who they are and who we're dealing with. And you may not always get that. There's going to be circumstances where people are liars or narcissistic or manipulative or whatever the case. But you'll pick up on that eventually. That can't stay hidden forever. And that truth always does, seem to come out and be illuminated in one way or another. It's just based on how in touch you are with you, and how willing you are to hear what's going on with somebody else, and not always look at it just from the lens and the filter that you've been taught to look at it through. So just a little tidbit for the day to help with your communication and relationships.